Welcome to the Sisters Uncensored podcast, where we get into everything from childhood trauma to millennial adulting and all things in between.
We share crazy stories from the past and present to help us cope with the insanity that is our lives.
By sharing our perspectives, we hope to bring some relatability, laughter, and unsolicited advice that can help you survive the messiness of life along with us.
My name's Jessica Labita. I'm a millennial mom, wife, and marketing professional, and I am absolutely insane.
My name is Ashley Lanive. I am a millennial stay-at-home mom, avid golfer, and too mouthy for my own good.
We are real sisters, and this is Sisters Uncensored. Take this trip with us. In a previous episode, we talked about how we used to go to punk rock shows and do all these crazy concerts and things together all the time. And I'm still a huge fan of punk music. And recently, my husband's been watching like punk rock documentaries at night before we go to bed.
Okay.
And so he had this one show on. He fell asleep, and I just kind of kept watching, and it was about the band Against Me. And I know the band. They've been like pretty popular on XM or whatever for maybe the last 10 years, I would say.
I know them?
Probably. You would have heard some of their songs. I'll have to play them for you.
Okay.
But they're good. They're really a great band, and I really like them.
Okay.
And so I didn't know this until recently. I was watching this documentary that he fell asleep to, and I find out that the lead singer of the band had transitioned from being a male. I guess his name was Thomas Gable originally, and he transitioned into a female whose name is Laura Jean Grace. And I learned as part of the documentary that she had written a book about like her life. And I was like, this is interesting to me. Like I was fascinated. So I buy the book.
Okay. Tranny.
It's called Tranny, Confessions of Punk Rock's Most Infamous Anarchist Sellout.
Oh.
So I buy the book and I read it because I want to learn more about her and her life, because to me this punk rock genre is they're very anti-government, right?
Yeah.
They're very like cisgender focused, and I feel like this community, not something you would find typically in the punk genre.
Okay.
So I read the book about her. She basically grew up in like a super conservative military family. Okay. Her parents end up getting divorced, which is so funny to me because I'm like, everyone whose story that I find interesting somehow stems from some divorce. Sort of family divorce or trauma, right?
Yeah.
So he goes to live with his mom, and he basically becomes like a rebellious teenager. They spent their childhood when they were married, living on military bases and moving all over the world. And they had a really nice life and a good family. And I think once they got divorced, he ended up like moving to Florida with his grandmother, or she, I should say, ended up moving to Florida with her grandmother. And like totally like was an outcast in society and fell into the punk scene.
Okay.
Decides to start a band. And this is like the outlet for all these things. So at 5 years old, actually I can say he because it was he when he was a child. This is hard, but anyway.
Okay.
when he was 5, he remembered seeing in the book, because the majority of the book is from his male perspective. It's not like until the last 20% of the book that the transition occurs, and then you get like the female version. It's interesting. So anyway, he sees a Madonna magazine cover on like Rolling Stone and remembers thinking like how beautiful she is, how he like aspired to be her, because she was gorgeous, she was feminine, she was a rock star, she was famous, and these were like all the things that he wanted to be growing up. Okay. But he had this like internal struggle where like he had the dysphoria that was like messing with his mind and like making him essentially have thoughts of being female.
Okay.
And he says, like, he tells stories. A lot of it is his journal entries where it's like real time recollection of moments in time that happened over the course of the band's history. But like he tells stories about when he was a kid wearing like he remembers his mom put extra like nylons in his dresser to just store them there. And he remembers like building a blanket for it and putting them on and feeling like a part of himself was free, but also feeling like he's going to get in trouble if someone came in and saw him putting on his mom's stockings, right?
Okay.
So it was like struggles like that as a child, and then it goes into like his band life and him touring and trying to build the band in the punk scene and being like an anarchist and anti-government because the cops treated him like shit because he was a dirty punk rocker and he was constantly arrested. Tons and tons of drugs, sleeping with just random women on the road, some people that he really loved and cared about, and like he prefers women sexually. Married a woman, got divorced, had a child. Like, it's a whole like life story. But he always, in all these songs that he wrote over the years and in all of the journal entries, he's constantly battling with this feeling inside of him that he wants to be a woman. And I don't know, to me it was just fascinating to hear this story from someone's perspective who has gone through this. And at the end of the book, when what ended up happening is he announced that he was transitioning to a female through Rolling Stone magazine.
Okay.
And his wife, he was married at the time, his wife supported him. I think this was like back in 2012 or something. So like it was like a big deal because no one at that point had come out. Like there was no Bruce Jenner, Caitlyn Jenner.
When
like
did Caitlyn?
I don't think any of that had happened at that point in time.
Okay.
And so he was really like the first celebrity to come out like this.
Okay.
And it was just a crazy story. Like, it was sad hearing how his upbringing...
Sounds like a lot of instability.
I think it was too, and I think it was a lot of running away from who he really was and looking for guidance in a community that was full of anarchist punk rockers and probably weren't the safest and best place for him to be.
Okay.
But that was the life that he chose because he wanted to be a musician, and he's super talented.
That's cool.
So anyway, these journal entries give you a lot of insight into like how he's thinking and how he's feeling. He comes out in Rolling Stone magazine. The whole time that the band had been like together up until this point, they were like in the punk rock community. They weren't a Green Day, they weren't a Rancid, they weren't these big 90s popular bands that we were going to see. So I didn't know of them really.
Okay.
And I don't think very many other people really did unless you were like deep in the underground punk world. Like, they became famous when this transition occurred.
Really?
Yes. And so to me, it just spoke volumes to see how this guy wasn't living his truth. I feel like for his whole life, and he would like write about things about how he felt in his songs that like alluded to the fact that he was really feeling this way inside. And when he finally transitioned and became Laura Jean Grace and announced to the world, like, I'm going to start living my life as a woman, and started making records and playing as her, who is his true self, based on what you'd read in the book, he blew up. He became popular.
Everything kind of fell into place.
Yeah, he gained like a whole new community of fans.
Okay.
The people who were like calling him a sellout and stuff for like signing with big records in the past and doing things that like he wanted to do to try to make his career successful.
That sounds like jealousy.
Right. Those people were back because now they're popular and you liked them before they were cool, so now it's cool to like them again. Like,
okay.
It was just a fascinating story to me.
Interesting.
And so a lot of it leads me to think just about like today and some of the things that are happening with kids in society. I think about like personal friends that I have that have gone through times like this where it's trying to figure out like orientation or preference sexually. And I just think about how we were raised very conservative like he was. And I think about like the shift in society and how much more open-minded I am as a person. Like,
versus generations before.
Yeah. Like,
100%.
Can you imagine mom seeing a documentary on a punk rock star who transitioned from male to female and being like, I want to read more about this person and learn about their life? Like, she'd be like,
no, I understand that.
And I think a lot of people of her generation would probably be that way. But it made me almost like proud of myself to be like, I need to know more about this guy, like, or this girl. Like, such a cool story, such a great band, such talented musicians. And I'm like, you fucking do you. Like, whatever makes you happy.
I think the generations are very different when it comes to anything like this. And I mean, it could be on many different levels when it comes to race, when it comes to homosexuality, when it comes to being bisexual, everything. Like, that's a generational thing that you're just not going to change some minds.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I like to think that we're like more open-minded at this point in time than we were raised to be. And so in my head, it's helping me think that I'm making a more positive influence in the world with my children, because although there are lines I think that I have just morally and struggles maybe because of some of the things that we were taught and how we were raised, my bottom line is to just be kind. Like, and so I just teach my kids, like, it doesn't matter.
None of it matters.
It
doesn't matter at all.
It's that simple.
I do agree with you. You should be kind to everybody. Like, there's no reason to not. You know what I mean? I mean, unless somebody deserves not being kind to, but which some people deserve to not have kindness. But that's not the type of thing that you would be mean to someone about. Not in my mind, anyway. I would say there's boundaries for me. I'm not here to play judge and jury of what's right and what's wrong. However, based on my beliefs, I would say certain things are not right. Now, I'm not here to tell anyone what they can and cannot do.
Right.
All right? My boundary for it, like my line, my hard line, is as long as you're two consenting adults, I don't give a shit what the fuck you do.
Yeah.
Okay? I feel like this world is filled with a lot of hate.
Yeah.
A lot of hate. And I would never be against people loving each other in any kind of way.
Right.
All right? Like,
same.
That's a good thing. That's a positive thing as far as I'm concerned. I could not care less what you do in your bedroom. I don't care. Don't
Doesn't
care.
affect me.
In any way.
Yeah.
And nobody should be concerned with what I'm doing in my bedroom. Like, what the fuck do you care? You know what I mean? Like, how does it
Agreed.
impact you? Unless I'm sleeping with you.
Right. It's mind your
Really?
mind your business.
Don't worry about it. Like,
Right.
why would you be so overly concerned? I just don't understand how people have the nerve to just sit there and waste their own energy on something that has absolutely no impact on them whatsoever, nothing to do with them whatsoever. Like, you do you, I do me. My hard line is as long as you're two consenting adults, I don't care. The second it's not a consenting adult, like it's a child or an animal or something like that, that's when there's problems. As far as the transition thing goes, I struggle with that. To me, the way I see it is, and people can either agree with me or not agree with me, and my answer is not going to be for everyone, but as far as I'm concerned, there's a mental illness there. And I believe that some people, a very small fraction of that community, actually does have this
like a dysphoria.
belief. Dysphoria. I absolutely believe that.
Yeah.
However, I think there's a lot of, especially younger people right now, teenagers, things like that. I think there's a need to find a community that you can belong to, okay? And we had it when we were kids, where there were all different kinds of cliques.
Sure.
You had the band kids, you had the goth kids, you had the jocks, you had the choir kids. It was just a different. It's just on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just finding your people.
There's just more varieties of the alphabet now.
Absolutely, I agree. So, but my point is kids right now, I think, are using this transition or believing that they are something that they're not or whatever. And I don't think it's that they actually believe that they are something different. I think it's a community that they feel like they can be comfortable in,
a part of,
because it's accepting. It's very accepting of anyone going through and feeling,
I would say yes and no.
Outcasted.
I'm not obviously part of that community. I think I'm very open-minded sexually, but
I agree. So am I.
I would say that if I were, I don't know that I would necessarily want to be lumped into this whole, like,
umbrella.
Yeah, like I have friends who are gay who totally dress like women on the weekend for fun. They're not trans. They have no intention of becoming women. They do kind of a drag thing and it's fun for them, and you do you. Like,
yeah,
whatever. But then I have others who are like, that's freaking weird. And so to put them all in a box that way and put people just generally in a box like that, to me is not okay.
I just think it's inaccurate.
Yeah.
I just think it's inaccurate.
This actually reminds me of the Misha thing that occurred.
Oh, yes. So we follow this guy on TikTok. His name's Misha. His handle is like why never to cross a gay man or something like that. He's the best. I just love everything about this man. He's so funny. He has such a kind, wonderful soul. I just like, oh my gosh, he's like the embodiment of just a really good person.
Yeah.
You know, like he's love his
funny.
soul.
He has a good sense of reality.
He's very witty.
He's smart. Yeah.
But he's very diplomatic.
Yeah.
He's a very diplomatic person, I think.
Yeah.
And
I think I share, like, we're very like-minded. And even though we live different lives, like his thoughts on a lot of things are very similar to my own.
I agree.
Right.
I think so too. I think like I said, like I don't care what anybody does. As long as you're consenting adults, I don't give a shit what you're doing. Like it's not my business.
Yeah.
All right. I don't care. Misha was talking about, he posted a video about how he saw this man at a pet store scrolling through Instagram of little kids, little girls, and like on mommy blogger type of pages and things like that. And like zooming in on these little girls and like screenshotting in inappropriate places and everything like that. And just, it was dirty.
It went viral.
Yeah.
His video
went viral
about
because he
this,
called the guy out. He was like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up calling the guy a pedophile. And the guy said, but people like me don't like that term. We prefer minor attracted people or something like that, which is like, ew, like still, you think that makes it any better? You're not making it any better. That's gross.
Yeah.
And then I was reading about how there's people in the pedophilia community who are trying to lump themselves into the LGBT community.
Yes.
Where I'm like, I don't think that the people in this community want you lumping yourself in with them.
And that's exactly my point.
But like, I think they're doing it under the umbrella of
alphabet letters.
Well,
that's not right.
That and under like the mindset of like, it's not a traditional sexual orientation.
Right, a heterosexual. So anything outside of heterosexual
is now looped under this umbrella. Exactly. Yeah. And I don't think that's fair.
And that's exactly what my point was. Mm-hmm. Is I don't think it's fair to put everybody into that same umbrella, because it's not everybody's the same.
Yeah. So not everybody's the same.
Why do we need to do that?
I wouldn't expect any just, 39-year-old white woman stay-at-home mom to be able to speak for me.
Right.
No, you know what I mean?
Agree.
That's my point. Yeah. And it could be for any different community. It doesn't matter.
Misha's big thing, like when he posted this video, was to create an awareness around mommy bloggers and different people who are posting their kids on the internet, to be really careful, because he actually ended up creating a fake account that had no pictures of a child on it, but it was like Barbie and like looked like it was run by a child, little girl. Like a little girl. And then he shares the DMs that he got to this account from grown adults saying disgusting things to children. And like, as a parent, it's fucking eye-opening to where you're like, oh my God, I need to pay really close attention to what is happening with my kids using the internet today, because they're exposed to so much more stuff than you would ever realize. And there is a community of people out there that are predators.
Yeah.
Like, it's terrifying.
Oh, that makes my skin crawl.
And for me, what was enlightening about the whole thing is that Misha is a gay man, and he is speaking out against this, and yet there's still a community of people who are trying to lump him and me and anyone else who falls into this alphabet soup into the same bucket. That is not right.
Yeah.
It's not right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how, like, what I thought about a lot too about this book was I was like, you don't know what a person has gone through in their life to make them make the choices that they have. I don't think a lot of this sexual orientation stuff is a choice, to be honest with you.
I don't think it's a choice.
Anyone would choose that.
If it were a choice, I'd marry my best friend. Think about how many guys have fucked you over.
Right.
Like, not for nothing. Like, don't you think I would just marry my best friend?
I know. I would definitely.
1,000%.
Definitely. Right.
1,000%.
Yes.
I'd be like, fuck that.
Well, and I think about my friends who are of the older generation who's basically spearheaded the Pride movement and came out when no one was coming out, and how hard that was for them and how heartbreaking and the turmoil that they went through in their life with their families and shit.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, nobody's going to do that for fun. Like, I don't know. So to me, it's just not fair to like put it all together. It makes me crazy. But I think the point and where like this really was very reflective for me is that I'm seeing in myself and in the way I'm parenting my kids a shift in kindness, tolerance, and openness for certain things. But that's not to say there aren't still hard lines in my morals.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but there are no circumstances where the society or anyone is going to convince me that pedophilia is acceptable.
Under no circumstances.
That is not okay.
Well, I mean, the same thing goes for the whole furry situation, in my opinion. All right? I'm not into that. I just cannot. That to me is it's mental illness, okay? If I walk around calling myself a kangaroo, I am clearly not, okay? I'm not.
I know.
And any person of sound mind should check me.
Yeah.
And be like, yo, no, you hear about them putting litter boxes in kids' friggin' schools and shit. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, no.
But that's what I'm talking about when I say, you know, like, you're looking for a community to just be accepted.
Yeah.
Okay?
But I mean, I wonder, so like, is there a way that we can, like, what could change so that kids can still feel that level of acceptance, but it doesn't have to be something so extreme or bizarre? Like, why do we have to be animals to feel accepted in today's society? Like,
that's not
what is
acceptable
creating
to me.
this?
I don't care what anybody says. That's not acceptable to me. You can disagree with me. You can change the channel if you don't like it. That's okay.
Yeah, I mean,
we
listen,
can agree to disagree. It's fine.
Feel free to weigh in the comments.
But
I am all about being
absolutely.
educated, so I'd love to hear perspective if there's somebody who wants to defend this. But like, I don't know. My kids are kind kids, and they have been taught to be kind regardless of who you love, what you look like, any of these things. Doesn't matter. But even they are like, she thinks she's a cat. Like, a child knows that that's not right. So
that's nonsense.
I don't get it.
I can't. Like, because I also look at it very, like, black and white. Okay, so here's my question. If you have a child that, you know, if you have a child that is claiming to be a cat, a dog, whatever animal, a fucking ferret, I don't care. All right? But if they're claiming to be an animal versus a human being, here's my question. One, you're not allowed to claim your pets as dependents. So does that mean they no longer get the child tax credit if they're going to have them identified as that at school?
I don't know. I never thought of things that way.
I think
but
that's
then you could take
really
that like
fair
a
question.
whole nother direction. Like, if they get hit by a car,
Is it roadkill?
that's exactly where I
Or
was
is
going.
it homicide? I mean, think
I don't
about
know.
it. I mean, think about it.
You call
can't.
a funeral director or the DPW?
That's a good question. That's a really fair question.
Yeah, there's got to be a line.
Like, I just think that we need to stop worrying so much about hurting people's feelings and being cancel culture and PC about certain things, that it's like, okay, enough is enough.
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line? And like I said, to me, it's like, my lines are very simple. As long as you're a consenting adult, I don't care what the fuck you do.
Yeah.
Leave kids alone.
Yeah.
Don't try to force people to do what you're doing or believe what you're doing is how they should live or anything like that. I don't tell anybody how to live their life. Don't tell me how to live mine. I don't like the pushing of pronouns. That's not for me either.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a basic biology type of person. And like you said, like we were brought up in a very conservative household, right? My religion is very important to me. I know in the Bible it says, a couple should be a man with a woman, right? That's what it says in the Bible. I am not going to sit here and play God.
No.
Okay?
Yep.
I am not going to do it. Yep. If it's wrong, when you meet your maker, you guys will work it out.
Yeah.
All right? It's not up to me.
Well, and it's discouraging too.
I'm sure as shit not going to hold it against you. All right? If you're touching a kid, I'm going to hold it against you.
Right. But you could have a religious upbringing, believe in God, and be
totally
gay.
Totally.
And then what? Then you feel like an outcast from your religion. Like, that's not fair.
That's got to be really conflicting. I can't even imagine.
The Bible is contradictory. And I will say this, because yes, it says man or woman, but at the same time, it says to love one another.
Yeah.
And so...
But I think you can do both. That's my point.
I agree.
That's my point.
Yep.
It's like,
No,
I am
agree
not
with you.
playing God. Like,
No.
I think there's a ton of hate in this world, way too much.
Agree.
And anybody who's loving each other is a good thing.
Agree.
As long as you are a consenting adult, okay, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Just no adults touching kids under any circumstances. I have a hard time with the transitioning thing. It's not for me. I think that's a mental illness. You could agree or disagree. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Yeah. I'm not forcing you to believe what I think.
Yeah.
Don't try to force me to believe otherwise.
No,
we can
and
disagree to disagree.
I think
fine.
Regardless, we're all human. And so...
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's where I take it upon myself as my decision to just educate myself and want to learn more about someone's situation. Like, this is a specific situation about a specific person who happens to be famous, and I chose to learn more about them. I didn't have to read this book. I didn't have to watch the documentary. I could have just moved along.
Yep.
But I like their music. I respect them as a person. There's commonality there, and so I wanted to learn more. And I think if there's any message here in what we're trying to say, because we're not looking to offend people, right?
Definitely not.
I think it's a good conversation for people to be having so that we can understand each other is people are human.
Yep.
Everybody has a story, and they're not all the same. And
I agree.
So the more you can learn about someone as a human and as an individual, the more compassion and kindness will exist in this world.
I can totally understand the thought process of trying to really see somebody else's perspective. I think I'm a diplomatic person. I do try to see things on both sides. I really do. I try to do that in any circumstance when there's any kind of conflict or question. All right. However, I will say there's some things that I'm like, listen, I know enough to know what I need to know. And that's enough for me.
Yeah.
I'm not shaming you for it.
Sure.
I'm not giving you shit for it. I'm not coming after you for it. Nothing like that. We're going to disagree, and I know we're going to disagree.
Yeah,
and that's okay.
Everyone has that right. And there are issues socially, politically, what have you, that I have a firm standing on. And there are issues that I might even have a firm standing on that I'm more willing to learn more about. And
yeah, that's fine.
And so in this situation, for example, I feel like if people could just think that way. Sometimes we're not going to agree on things. Sometimes we have hard lines that other people don't have.
Yeah.
And that doesn't give you the right to be an asshole or to beat your opinion down someone's throat or to force them into your religious beliefs or you're this or you're that.
Right, going both ways.
Just mind your business.
Just mind your business.
Yeah.
And listen, we were brought up to just be kind to everyone anyway.
Yeah, agreed.
It didn't matter.
Yeah.
And there was none of this. You know what I mean?
No.
Not that we were aware of it. And honest to God, hand on a Bible, I never looked at anybody any differently.
No.
It never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, was like, oh, that person's different in this way, shape, or form. It never even dawned on me.
Yeah.
Ever growing up.
Yeah.
Ever. I feel like that's a learned behavior. I feel like it's something that is pointed out.
And I think it's more prevalent too today because of social media and just the access to information generally is much broader than when we were kids.
Yes.
So
yes.
But that just goes to prove that if you can get so much information out there, then people can be more open-minded and kind as opposed to being keyboard warriors and
I think delivery matters
down
too.
And bullying people. Yes. and just hearing other people's perspectives. And if you don't agree, it doesn't give you the right to be a dick.
Yeah.
You can just simply say,
Totally agree.
I don't agree. And that's it.
Yeah. And
You
that's
know?
it.
That's
Just let it be.
Be kind.
Yes. It's not like, I feel like it's not that hard.
It's not.
It really shouldn't be that hard.
No.
I don't know why, like, anybody would waste their energy stewing on something that has absolutely nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Like, what do you care?
I know.
It's not impacting you in any kind of way, shape, or form. Mind your business. That's
Yeah.
it. Just you do you, I do me, we're good.
Yeah, and I think
And we can be friends.
The more we fight socially on issues that really don't impact you personally, I mean, I guess it's hard to say, because if it did impact me personally, I would be fighting differently. But for stuff that doesn't impact me, I just, like, whatever, like, let it go. You can choose to educate yourself, be nice, leave it alone. And I don't know. Anyway, it is what it is.
I mean,
I think the bottom line is try to be understanding, try to be compassionate, be kind. And that's it.
I think I completely agree with what you're saying. It's nice to be nice.
It is.
It's nice to be nice. That's the best way to end it.
All right.
Okay? Adios. Bye.
Bye.